It feels like we're just drowning in information these days, right? But isn't it funny how it's the simplest stories that really grab us? Why is that? Why are we so pulled towards simplicity when, let's be honest, reality is anything but simple? Well, let's try and figure that out together. Okay, to really get to the bottom of this, let's start with a really big question. If I asked you, what was modern science's greatest discovery? What would you say? I mean, your mind probably jumps to something huge, like, I don't know, gravity? Or maybe the discovery of DNA, right? Those are the obvious answers. But what if I told you the answer is actually something, well, a lot more fundamental than that? The biggest breakthrough? It wasn't finding a new continent. It wasn't spotting some distant star. No, it was the discovery of something new. Right here, inside our own minds. Believe it or not, it was the discovery of ignorance. Yeah, you heard that right. The historian Yuval Noah Harari makes this incredible point. He says the entire scientific revolution kicked off the very moment we as humans finally admitted that we don't have all the answers. Just think about that. That one single admission that no person, no ancient text knows everything, that's what really, truly changed the world. Okay, so let's back up for a second. See, for most of human history, we thought the exact opposite. People basically believed that all the important knowledge in the universe was already out there. It was locked away in holy books or held by the village elders. The Book of Answers was, considered closed, complete. So the scientific revolution, it wasn't really about finding a bunch of new answers. It was about learning how to ask way better questions. That moment of admitting, hey, we don't know, was like giving ourselves permission to actually go out and investigate the world for ourselves. It's literally the engine that drives all human progress.
Okay, but this is where it gets really interesting. Because here's the central conflict. The whole scientific mindset, it demands that we get comfortable with uncertainty. But our brains, our basic human psychology, it often craves the exact opposite. We want simple, confident answers. And this isn't some abstract philosophical debate. No way. It's a fundamental conflict that has played out again and again on the biggest stages of history.
And to really see this clash in action, let's zoom in on one pivotal moment in history, the French Revolution. We're going to look at two very different men who tried to steer its destiny. So on one side, you've got this guy, Robespierre. He was basically a prophet of reason. He truly believed that if you just presented people with logic and virtue, they'd follow. And for a while, his dedication actually did save the revolution. But then, on the other side, you have Napoleon. And he was a flat-out genius of myth-making. He just got it. He understood that people aren't just moved by logic. They're moved by powerful stories. They want something and someone to believe in. And, well, as you can imagine, his approach led to a very, very different outcome. And here's the thing that's so wild. Napoleon wasn't a one-off. He wasn't some historical fluke. No, he's actually an archetype. He represents this specific type of leader, the myth-maker, who seems to show up again and again whenever a society is at a critical turning point. I mean, look at this pattern. It just repeats itself. The Roman Republic, it's in crisis. Who rises up? Julius Caesar, who builds this myth of himself as an unbeatable general. And what happens? The Republic ends. Fast forward, the French Republic, it's in total turmoil. Who emerges? Napoleon, presenting himself as this almost messianic figure. And what happens? The Republic ends. And again, the Weimar Republic in Germany, it's collapsing. Who comes along? Hitler, creating a myth of himself as the nation's savior. And, you guessed it, that Republic ends too. So this isn't just me connecting dots. Professor Jiang Shueqin is the one who points out this incredibly consistent historical pattern. This is not a coincidence. When a republic is facing a really deep crisis, it becomes incredibly vulnerable. And that's when the door swings wide open for a charismatic leader to step in and replace that messy, complicated reality with this simple, powerful, and very appealing story. Okay, so that's the what that happens. But now for the really fascinating part, the why. Why is this myth-making strategy so unbelievably effective? Well, Napoleon himself basically gave us the game plan. He didn't see himself as just another politician. He literally said he would found a religion. Think about that. This was never about policy details or spreadsheets. It was about belief. So what exactly is a myth-making genius? Professor Jiang has this perfect definition. It's the ability to take the complex, often boring reality of politics and turn it into an exciting TV show. One with clear heroes and villains, a dramatic plot. And once you're hooked, you never want to change the channel.
Why? Because reality is hard, and frankly, people would much rather live in the dream. So why on earth does this work so well? Well, it taps directly into some pretty basic human psychology. For starters, we are just wired to be more attracted to confidence than we are to actual competence. And let's be real, thinking for ourselves, really thinking critically, is hard work. It's so much easier to just believe and follow a leader who says, "Don't worry, I've got this." In a world that feels chaotic, a simple story feels like a safe place to hide.
Now, here's a really clever, kind of scary part of this whole mindset. It completely redefines what success even means. It's not about making your life objectively better. Nope. It's all about making you feel like your life is better, usually by comparing yourself to others. Just look at how this plays out. Let's say, objectively, your own wealth actually goes down a little bit, but if everyone else's wealth goes down a lot more, well, suddenly you feel better off, right? It's all relative. The logic, as Professor Jang puts it, is I don't have to make you rich, I just have to make everyone else poor. Greatness becomes all about perception, not reality. All right, so let's bring this all home and put these two huge ideas side by side. On one hand, you had the scientific mindset, the one that's based on we don't know and propelled all of our progress. And on the other hand, you have this powerful mythic mindset, the one that has toppled republics throughout history. And this really lays out the two fundamental paths we can take. The scientific mindset, it starts by admitting ignorance. It asks you to embrace uncertainty, to demand evidence, and most importantly, to think for yourself. The mythic mindset, in total contrast, offers certainty. It gives you simple answers. It relies on charisma, not facts. And it asks you to follow a leader, not to think. And so, here we are. We're left with a choice that really every single generation has to face. In a world that feels more complex and confusing than ever, which path do we choose? Do we lean into the hard work of asking uncomfortable questions, or do we take shelter in those easy, comfortable stories? Because if history teaches us anything, it's that the choice we make, well, it always, always matters.